This video is sponsored by Movement Watches and Sunglasses. More on Movement at the end of this video. Hey Wisecrack, Jared here. We all just saw Thor Ragnarok and, surprise, we have some thoughts. Not only is it quite possibly the funniest Marvel movie, it's also very close to being the smartest. Like most Marvel flicks, there's a metric buttload of smashy fight punctuated by smug self-awareness.
We know each other! He's a friend from work!
But underneath the ocean of jokes, fights, and uncredited Matt Damon cameos, there are a few scenes that speak to really interesting ideas. But before we dive in any further, here's your obligatory spoiler warning. One of the most enduring images of the movie is Thor missing an eye just like his father Odin, and we couldn't help but ponder. If in Norse mythology Odin loses his eye to see a greater knowledge, what truth does Thor see when he loses his eye? So let's see why Marvel took Thor's eye in this quick take on Thor Ragnarok. First, a quick recap. Thor returns to Asgard from a spirit quest, complete with the crown of a fire giant, only to find Loki in charge disguised as Odin. They go to find the real Odin, who promptly dies. Immediately after, big sister Hela, goddess of death, comes back from her banishment to Hot Topic to claim the Asgardian throne and expand the empire. So she destroys Thor's hammer and sends Thor and Loki tumbling into space. Thor ends up being a gladiator on a planet called Sakaar. Loki weasels himself into Jeff Goldblum's aristocracy, and with the help of new friends like Valkyrie and his colleague the Incredible Hulk, Thor gets back to Asgard, fights Hela, and saves his people. What a ride. So sure, Thor fights the Hulk again, Jeff Goldblum plays a space DJ, and Loki gets rescued by a Kiwi rock monster. But what's more interesting is Ragnarok's preoccupation with the past, and how it forms the world we live in. This is most clearly seen during Hela's reign over Asgard. When Hela arrives, she sees a fresco depicting Asgard's history as all peace treaties and celebrations. But that's not how she remembers it. To her, Asgard's history is all blood and conquest and beating enemies to her giant wolf. She wrecks the fresco, revealing one hidden beneath, one that depicts the history Odin tried to sweep under the rug, he and Hela conquering, killing, and generally wreaking havoc. She destroys what appears to be the entire Asgardian army on her own, then brings her old armies back to life, and suddenly, Asgard is just like when she left it, a military dictatorship run by a power-hungry deity. What's really clever here is that just as Hela wants to reach into the dark and bring the past back to life, so too do all our central characters need to reconcile with their pasts in order to make any progress. This is the substance buried under all the comedy in this movie. It's interested in how we deal with our past. For the Hulk, this is simple. Banner has been stuck in Hulk mode for 2 years. It's not until he witnesses his past by seeing a video of Black Widow that he's forced to confront what he left behind when he flew into outer space, allowing Banner to emerge and the escape to truly start. Valkyrie used to be a member of an elite all-female Asgardian strike force, but ages ago, when Hela killed everyone but her in a huge battle, she gave up that life and became a scavenger. It's only when she confronts those memories that she can return to the heroism she left behind. Loki's confrontation with the past comes through his connection to his brother. Loki has always wanted Thor to recognize him, either with love or fear, but toward the end of the movie, Thor indicates that he no longer cares about Loki. It takes until the last 20 minutes of the movie, but Loki finally realizes that to start his own future, he has to grow out of the person he was in the past. Despite his self-aggrandizing battle cry of "Your savior is here," we see real growth in his decision not to steal the Tesseract, and in the fact that after the fight, he sticks around instead of running away. But what about Thor? Well, that's the biggest issue with this idea of history, and what keeps the film from being decisively Marvel's smartest movie. We never get to see Thor dealing with his own history, nor with Asgard's. The closest we get to this is his battle with Hela, which could be considered as a metaphorical conflict between Asgard's future and its past. This is the concept at the heart of Thor Ragnarok. In order to move into the future, people and societies need to reckon with their past, an idea that is very present throughout human history. It starts with the way that societies tell stories to themselves about themselves. For a long time, Asgard presented itself as a warlike culture. When Odin wanted to shift toward a more peaceful arrangement, he rewrote the history of Asgard to exclude Hela and all the fighting, and position himself as a benevolent protector. You've probably heard the phrase that history is written by the winners, but according to scholars like Michel Foucault and Jenny Edkins, history is written for the winners. What that means is that history is written to justify past violence and set the stage for whatever needs to happen in the future. Edkins explains this process by describing the end of a war. Victory parades, remembrance ceremonies, and war museums tell of glory, courage, and sacrifice. The nation is renewed, the state strengthened. With the commemoration of the past, we justify the measures taken to reach the future. That means the story of the past dictates the future. We see this idea played with at the beginning when Loki is disguised as Odin. He's putting on a play recontextualizing his deception as sacrifice and rewriting the history of Asgard with himself as a hero, all while munching on fresh grapes. The Asgard around him is centered on indulgence and celebration, and Loki crafts its history to justify that behavior. He's not the only one to pull this trick, and he's certainly not the most dangerous. For Hela, Asgard's history is inextricably tied to this idea of place. She believes that expanding the territory of Asgard is the same as making Asgard more powerful. This equation of a people to a place has a long role in human history. Theorist David Campbell explains the dangers of tying political identity and security to a single place. One of his ideas is essentially that when a population and its power is tied to a place, that makes everyone outside of that place an enemy and a potential threat. And in a world full of potential threats, safety is an illusion, and that means Hela's wars would wage forever. It takes a visit from Ghost Dad for Thor to understand that the people of Asgard matter more than the place or even the name. This is the epiphany that led Odin to casting Hela out. Her militarism based on defending the land of Asgard from threats or expanding its power would be the ruin of the people of Asgard. This is why Thor loses his eye. In Norse mythology, Odin trades his eye for knowledge. Similarly, Thor loses his eye in the moment when he finally sees the truth that what really matters isn't territory, it's the people who create the culture. In the end, Loki unleashes the fire giant who destroys Asgard and Hela with it. By destroying the territory and making the Asgardians nomadic space travelers, they now have a chance to create their own history unbound from the past, despite the pain it brings. Underneath a Sakaar-sized pile of space junk, special effects, and fantastic jokes, Ragnarok is a movie about how we understand national, social, and personal identity in the context of our pasts. Whether for better or worse, those pasts inform our futures, and only by confronting them directly can we ever really move on. Hope you guys enjoyed the movie. Thanks for watching. Peace. Now y'all probably noticed Thor looking pretty fly with his sexy new haircut. Well, if you've decided it's time to step up your style game too, why not grab a new watch or pair of sunglasses from Movement? If you're one of the first 200 Wisecrack fans to make a purchase at mvmt.com/wisecrack using the offer code Wisecrack, you'll get $15 off your purchase. Founded on the idea that good style shouldn't break the bank, Movement cuts out the middleman, giving you designer-grade apparel at low prices. With their classic minimalist designs and quality construction, Movement watches keep you on time and in style, all starting at $95. And the sunglasses are just cool. They're lightweight, handmade, and start at $70 with the option to polarize most pairs. So head over to mvmt.com/wisecrack or click the link in the description. Be sure to use the discount code Wisecrack to get $15 off your purchase. Free shipping and returns are included. So join the movement. Thanks to Movement for sponsoring this video. And we've got more great stuff on the way for y'all, including videos on the Emoji Movie, The Prestige, and tons more. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. Catch y'all next time. Peace.